Hello, what's up YouTube? We are 12 days, 5 hours, 54 minutes, and 40 seconds away from Path of Exile Incursion being released. Less than 2 weeks away, and we've got one cool new thing to share with you today, something that got announced. It is a supporter-designed unique. So this is something that's no longer available, but for a time, Path of Exile actually allowed supporters to donate to a specific amount. I believe for a time it was a couple of $1,000s, and if you had supported with a couple of $1,000s, then you actually got to design a unique. They're no longer accepting those anymore, so they're just slowly rolling those out for the folks that are backlogged and still had uniques to design from when that was still a supporter bonus, as it were. So today we're looking at one of the newly released uniques, supporter uniques, that's coming out in 3.3. It's made by Earendel, and so it's called Earendel's Embrace. It's a one-handed mace. It gives you some elemental damage, some flat bonuses to all attributes, which is nice as summoners, because oftentimes summoners are lacking in stats, or they could be a stat stacking summoner. And it is, of course, a summoner unique. So minions deal 37% increased damage. Summon skeletons cover enemies in ash on hit, and summon skeletons take 23.4% of their maximum life per second as fire damage, and summon skeletons have Avatar of Fire. So a couple of things to note here. First off, if you're wondering, well, what is ash? What does covering something in ash do? Well, according to the POE wiki, ash is a debuff that causes the effective target to have less movement speed and increased fire damage taken. So you can see over here 20% less movement speed and 20% increased fire damage. There's a couple of ways to do this now. Currently Zoph's Heart, which is one unique, and Zoph's Blood, which is an upgrade from Zoph's Heart. And then of course you can always get covered in ash from a couple of Ascendancy nodes, from the Ascendant Chieftain, or just from Hinikora's Death's Fury, which is a Chieftain Ascendancy. So that right now, pretty limited ways of actually covering something in ash. And so Earendel's Embrace is going to allow your skeletons that you summon to cover their enemies in ash. The second thing that it's going to do is summon skeletons have Avatar of Fire, which, if you're wondering what's Avatar of Fire, well, it's a keystone where 50% of physical, cold, and lightning damage gets converted to fire damage, and you deal no non-fire damage. So pretty interesting just to ramp up fire damage for your skeletons. And Earendel goes into some explanations behind the design of his weapon. So first off, he says the goal was to make minion instability great and quite playable again. I wanted a unique that can do something for skeletons to give them the love that they deserve. So right now there are lots of uniques for zombies, the Baron, Montegrel's Grasp. I believe there's a couple others. There's a shield as well, I believe, for zombies. But several different uniques that are out there also, even for Summon Raging Spirit. There's the Blood of the Red Covenant, which was a new one last league. And so here comes a new unique for specifically geared towards skeletons. Also, he says, I wanted to give a unique that can enable multiple builds. Here you can choose to build around resistances and give your skeletons a real fire damage output potential, or you can choose to play with minion instability, scale your skeletons with minion life and damage, and sacrifice them in Einhard's name, stupid skeletons. The G-Gen line has a range that goes from 15 to 30%. The roll you get will determine what you want to do. I wanted a unique that's not too high a level, so you can pick it up early in the game and start playing your build straight away. If you notice, the required level is 35, so if this is an endgame viable unique, that would be pretty rare that a low-level unique, or mid to low-level unique, would be an endgame viable unique. But it's at least something that you could pick up and start using around Act 3 or Act 4. Lastly, the 3D model will apparently have some flames on it, and the skeletons that spawn may have flames on them. Still waiting on confirmation. And the flavor text comes from the poem Chris 3 from Signwolf, which my name comes from too. This poem inspired J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of Lord of the Rings, to begin writing his mythology. So there you go. That's today's hype. Tomorrow we're going to be covering some of the releases on traps. So there have been a bunch of new announcements on traps. So we'll be checking out more traps, but today we wanted to cover this awesome supporter unique that if you play a summoner, of course you should be excited about. So this leads off with our exit question. Are you planning on building a summoner in the Incursion League? And if so, what kind of summoner will you build? Skeletons have been pretty meta now for the last league. Lots of people were doing tons and tons of melee damage with skeletons in Bestiary. So will this be a unique you'll go after? Will you attempt a summoner build or not? Get hype. We are 12 days away from POE Incursion.